Remember Cut the Rope? That was one of those games that came out really early on mobile, and that was back when mobile games were actually good. Well, for this video I will be showing all of the games that we can reflect on, and I will point out any things I find important or intriguing. So let's just get into it. This is the lore of Cut the Rope. The first game opens up with a cutscene of a mysterious package being delivered to somebody's house. And so this was how the first game began. It was pretty simple. You just had a box with a challenge to get the candy to the little green monster. There was also a pilot for a series being made where Om Nom would magically come out of his iPad and he would just rampage through the house. While this concept was cool, they eventually changed it because in the game a package would come to somebody's house and it wouldn't make sense why they would just throw that away. And so in the actual first episode, this is exactly how it starts off. The same way that the game started off. And a little boy named Evan gets a package with a monster that has an appetite for candy. Evan quickly figures this out and bribes him with sweets. And because of the sweets, the creature begins to like him. I think Evan was the one who actually named him Om Nom because of how he just likes to eat. For a while, Om Nom just begins to live with Evan, and he begins conducting some experiments to help him live with this creature. It wouldn't take long for the company to see the success of their game and make another one.
Interesting.
And the sequel,
Let's make an experiment.
which they named Cut the Rope Experiments, was what they had come up with after. But based on the trailer, it seemed that before Om Nom made his way to Evan's home, he first dropped by and was actually at a professor's house. So I think that Cut the Rope Experiments actually happened before Cut the Rope. I mean, in the third game, Cut the Rope Time Travel, it continues off in Evan's home. Through the game, Om Nom can go through different time periods where he now has an ancestor, so he's probably been here longer than even humans. And in the series that airs alongside the games, the same happened. They go on adventures and yeah. Eventually the series shows that at the end of his time travels, he ends up back in Evan's home, where he thinks it's a dream, but it's not. Also, sometime in between all these games, the original game gets an update where Om Nom now has a new power-up. So basically, aside from the games and the series that runs alongside it, there's not much else. But I was able to find something that is, for some reason, very well hidden. For 2013, there were a few series of Cut the Rope comics. These may not sound like the most intriguing things, but they actually hold some of the most curious lore aspects of the series. In it, we would finally see what Evan would look like, we would get a new character, and we would see that this guy is called a nutty prof. Let me just summarize what happens through the comics. Evan is at home alone with no parents, and he suddenly gets a mysterious package. Here we see that the professor actually lives with Evan. Om Nom gets loose into the kitchen and all over the place, and Evan goes and tries to rescue him. But eventually Om Nom rescues Evan instead. Now this is where everything starts to get shrouded in mystery as a bunch of stuff goes missing, but apparently Evan brings Om Nom home and the package was a mistake to bring it to that house and it was supposed to go to a company. So some people break into Evan's home and apparently go looking after the Om Nom guy, and there's this big CEO guy who apparently, from my research, I actually found out that he's a guy named Big Vegetable CEO. Now, this is the first time we hear anything about how Om Nom, a green monster that loves to consume candy, is made, and it would make a lot of sense that he's some big corporation's secret. And I'm going off on speculation here, but I think that the vegetable CEO made this project to consume all the candy and make everything healthy, but then why is he evil? Sadly, the comic got discontinued pretty early on since it didn't do well, and they were even going to expand on this idea in a Cut the Rope movie, which never came out. It was planned to release in 2013, but obviously it's been quite a long time since then. And now the company has basically scrapped this idea and is following what is going on in Om Nom stories. In the next game, Cut the Rope 2, which is actually the fourth game, Om Nom goes on this whole adventure trying to retrieve the candies which were stolen by spiders. Along the way, he meets a bunch of Nommies. Nommies are basically what Om Nom is and some of the helping creatures in this game. Om Nom Stories also makes a new season with these characters and Om Nom's journeys, and they actually appear in the game itself. In Cut the Rope Magic, the game begins with Om Nom just reading a book where he can see all the forms he can turn into, and he basically just travels around in the book. And for this game, there are actual boss fights, so that's also pretty cool. If we take a look at the Om Nom Stories Magic season, which correlates to the game, it actually for once doesn't follow the same story as the game. In the game, you are going through a book, and in the series, it looks like the adventures happen in the world outside of the book, which I guess it's a pretty nice take, and it allows for more original ideas while keeping the same magic trope. The evil sorcerer spider also appears in the series, and this looks like it's their first interaction. So I think that this season in the series might actually happen before Cut the Rope Magic. And this is also backed up by how in the game's opening cutscene, the spider just takes his candy, so he might have some beef with Om Nom already. The evil spider also apparently holds his power in his magic hat thing, and without it he's just a regular spider. But the evil spider also returns later on in the series, so he can obviously turn back off camera somewhere. While he goes on magical adventures, he runs into a girl, Om Nom. This is Om Nelle, and it's actually pretty horrifying how she came to be. This is the Om Nom version of Talking Tom. It's basically a ripoff, and for this game they had to introduce a female version, and this is basically how it started off. They even deleted the game because of how bad it looked. This is Om Nelle, and she actually gets better throughout the series. Also, Om Nelle has a grandma. I suppose I should also explain what's going on with the company. In 2015, that was the last time they made a Cut the Rope game for a while. That's when Cut the Rope Magic released. They would eventually make a remaster in 2021. That's a 6-year gap, but luckily it was filled with episodes of Om Nom Stories, but that meant they had to get off board and they had to make new ideas. And so Om Nom sets off to see all of the cool places in the world. Finally, we get confirmation that the Om Nom universe takes place basically in our world. I mean, we pretty much already knew that because at the beginning, Om Nom arrived at Evan's home. But between all of this time, I guess he sort of said goodbye to Evan, and now he's traveling the world doing his own stuff. But we still get confirmation that humans exist and it's not just animal characters. Like here, this lady is making churros. And so Om Nom continues his journey around the world, going through different cultures and stuff, and they're actually pretty cool. Now, as he travels through the world in one episode, he meets for the second time with Om Nelle. So they decide to go to this Russian theme park and spend some time, I guess. And so here we see their relationship begin to develop, with Om Nelle trying to get him to do more new things and stuff. And Om Nom is reluctant about a bunch of things, but eventually he decides to try to do something heroic in saving Om Nelle's shoes. You have to watch it too, because out of context it sounds a little bit weirder. Anyways, that's pretty much where the episode ends. And in another episode we see Om Nom with a reindeer being Santa. But this doesn't make any sense because there's an actual Santa. So I don't really know what's up with that, but I decided to just include it in the video. Next up, Om Nom decides to begin making video blogs. Along these video blogs, he starts inviting Om Nelle for a few episodes. Wait, Om Nom has a house now? How does that even work? Also, now might be a good time to begin saying that Om Nom starts getting kind of bratty. He starts to do pranks and basically start acting like a child, I guess. I don't really know, man. What do you want me to say about this? Next up, for the next season idea, Om Nom tries out different jobs. That means somehow he gets to go to space and do a bunch of wacky things. And he also builds a house for him and Om Nelle. For the season after that, a mysterious washing machine crashes into Om Nom and Om Nelle's garden. And basically they find these superpower clothes that they use to try to save the world and stuff, I guess. For the first few episodes, they just fight basic enemies and stuff, nothing special. But at the end of the season, it's revealed that somebody else is behind some of these. Somewhere in an underneath village, we see all of the Nommies from Cut the Rope 2 working together, living together. And we see little baby blobs, and these are little baby Nommies that then turn into regular Nommies with the power of this gemstone. And these end up being in a knockoff game named Om Nom Merge. Now, a part of this gemstone actually gets stolen by the evil spider. This is the same spider from Cut the Rope Magic, and he returns. And he uses the power of the gemstone to start making his own minions super, giving them superpowers and stuff. Meanwhile, Om Nom somehow throws himself into the window of a scientist building, and disappointingly, it's not the guy from Cut the Rope Experiments. Why did they just make a new scientist when they had one? But I guess they just really like animals and don't really want to use humans anymore. I mean, just think about the missed potential. They could have been so good. But I should also give the series praise for always having some kind of continuation between it and the games. And yeah, the grandma returns. It's cool that she's still canon. And look, even more reoccurring characters. But going back to the superhero arc, Om Nom finally gets abducted after seasons of the spider basically doing nothing. He finally does something evil and gives us a little bit more. He wakes up in the spider's evil lair, and after some hijinks he can escape, and he actually pulls off a big brain move and just jumps out the window to escape. The spider even manages to get their superpower helmet thingies, but he gets outsmarted easily because the smart villain always somehow forgets about this one stupid thing and they fall for it. Now, I think we should take a while and appreciate how child-friendly and nice this series has been. It's so nice and stuff. So let's just throw it all out the window. Accidentally, Om Nom just begins to travel through time. He sees all the terrors of the world, and he truly seems scared. Like, this is truly horrifying, this terrorizes him. I'm surprised that they even made an episode like this. And they didn't even include the Om Noms from Cut the Rope Time Travel. That's missed potential right there. Also, don't worry, he makes it back. But more importantly, did you see some of these things from the flashes through time? Like apocalypses, geometrical things. Is his world even real? I don't even know what to say about this single shot of the series. These shots have definitely given me some shower thoughts, and I've given some thought to this, but I don't know, it's really strange and out of place. It's really out of character of the Om Nom universe. The spaceman comes to take his superpower gear, but in the end sees that the Nommies use them for good, and he lets them keep them. Also, in the last episode of Space Nommies, they talk.
Are you okay? I'm okay.
Raise your hand if you thought that this is what the Nommies would sound like. And yep, I see no hands up, but the evil spider actually sounds really good in this episode.
I will destroy this microphone, and there will be no harmony for you!
In the next episode, their superhero work is interrupted by an unexpected baby delivery. Just like how Om Nom arrived in a box, so did Nibble Nom. This is their son, and for the next few seasons, they all go through imaginary little scenarios that Nibble Nom makes up, where they usually learn something at the end, I think. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Whoa, look how good he looks in 3D. Yep, it's time to talk about the remastered version. This is controversial because it's just a remaster, nothing special about it. But I am still happy as a lore hunter that it keeps up with the lore. For this game, basically the whole lore behind it is that for the 10th anniversary of Cut the Rope, the family sits down and opens up some books, and each book is a game in the series. I mean, for a remaster to be canon, that's perfect for this video. I love it. It's really neatly played out, and all of the paper cutouts and stuff look really cool. But at the end, the family has enjoyed going through the memories, they've eaten their cake, and it's time for them to go to sleep. Here we can also spot a little Easter egg in the background, if you see that. Really cool for having that in a mainline game. And yeah, that's pretty much the Cut the Rope Remastered. After that, in the series, Om Nom's house gets destroyed. The house he built, the house he had many memories in, is gone. But they find out that people like food and they can make money out of it. So all of a sudden they have everything they need to build a really good looking cafe. And that's what they do for a while. And finally an old enemy shows up. And we finally have a, antagonist. And for this episode, he just provides really unhealthy food until everybody realizes how bad his food is and just throws him and all his stuff in the garbage. Also, as a little fun fact, Nibble Nom goes to school. The evil spider shows up again and actually orders some food and stuff, but he's still here to cause problems. But luckily, the newest member of the family gets down to the problem and solves it. Another time he also sees a party happening and he decides to be the uninvited guest and try to ruin it, but Om Nom treats him with hospitality for the first time, and this is how he mends the relationship with the evil spider. Just bribes him with food. And honestly, for a green monster who loves to eat candy and stuff, this is the perfect way for the evil spider to go out. Wait, what is that music. Oh my god, are you seriously making this entirely kid-friendly? I was enjoying this until now. They were actually kind of good. But yeah, all of a sudden the Nommies decide that the best thing for Nibble Nom is to move to a new, more friendly place. And this is where they have all new adventures with all new characters. And this means no more reoccurring characters, no more relationship to past anything. The company really has been going all out kid-friendly. And I guess if that's what they want to go for, I still hate it. One day Nibble Nom decides to look in his attic, and there he sees Om Nom Grandpa, a new character that never showed up in the game. And what are you doing with that? Don't. Oh, okay. I hope he doesn't do anything bad with that. Anyways, Om Nom goes to see what all the commotion is about, and he decides to take a field trip with his son and uncover lost species of Nommies. This is now the game called Cut the Rope 3, where instead of having to eat sweets, Om Nom decides that he's going to take a diet and just go adventuring with his son. But yeah, that pretty much sums up the lore of Cut the Rope. Currently, it looks like Zeptolab isn't even making their own games anymore and letting other companies do it for them. And it seems to be that the Cut the Rope franchise is running out of popularity. But I'm just glad we'll always have the games of the past to cherish. And yeah, this is pretty much it. One thing that I liked about the series mainly, Cut the Rope stories, actually Om Nom stories, what I liked about it is that it didn't have any speaking and stuff, and it was driven by music. That's why the earliest episodes are peak content.